Hi everyone, it's Jessica again. I am overwhelmed by the number of people that watched my little questions and answers video from the other day. So as promised, I'm making another one because there's a lot of things that you guys have mentioned in the comments of both the actual full documentary, Finding Fukue, and also in this little window here. I think I'll keep doing these things as long as you guys want. Anyway, first of all, I am totally flabbergasted to announce that the last time I checked a little while ago that we were over 1/3 views on the documentary, which is just totally mind-blowing to me. I can't even conceive of that. Thank you guys so much for connecting to this story and being able to have empathy for myself and for Fukue and for sharing the video. And there's like 2,000 comments and it's so amazing. Almost all of them are super positive. I mean, then again, there's the one where I was called a red-haired, ugly horse face, which isn't that complimentary, I would say, but this is how it goes. Haters, 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 and you know, it's a matter of opinion, I guess. So anyway, but the overwhelming response has been so positive and compassionate, and people telling me that they've been crying, and which, as you know, I was also, so that means something to me that you felt the emotion of it all. So anyway, the couple questions that I'm going to focus on answering today are, a lot of people are saying like, oh, I hope someone does what you did and da-da-da for me sometime, and you're such a great friend and this and that. And I wanted to explain how this film ended up happening and how this hunt for Fukue ended up happening. Also, other people have commented, why didn't you go look for her sooner, this sort of thing. So let me tell you what actually happened. I kind of alluded to it in the last video, but when I left Japan as a child, I thought my family was going back the year after. That's what my folks told me, because they were doing ongoing work with a company that did some placement of English teachers from abroad in Japan and Japanese schools. So they were doing regular work, so they said that we would be back the next year. However, the plans changed, and it made it impossible for the kids, me and my sister, to be able to go because I think their work trip ended up during the school year or something like that. So I never went back the year after, which is what I was expecting. I basically only wanted to go back to see Fukue, obviously. She was my special person there. So now, flash forward, and in 2005 or 6, I can't remember exactly what year, but that was the very first time I even went back to Japan after my child time experience. And I went for 2 months and I traveled around, and of course being in Nagano and in Saku was a big part of it, and also of course a big part of it was also locating Fukue. So I brought with me the book you see me holding in the documentary, which had the information. I'd actually torn out our class picture and given it to someone because I had enlisted the help of a local kind of connected family friend and told her that I was trying to locate Fukue, and she set me up with someone who helped me to have a meeting with the principal of the school, a different principal at that time than who was in the documentary, and they gave me slightly different information actually than what you see in the documentary, but it ended there. From that meeting, I found out that Fukue was enrolled in school until the end of elementary, which I had heard from my mother, who had run into Fukue's mother when they returned a year after we had lived in Japan, that Fukue had stopped going to school. So this was confusing to me that I was getting different information from the elementary. I also found out that Fukue's younger brother, who I knew and had met several times, had also graduated from school, but there was no records beyond that. Through the help of my connected family friend there was an ad placed in the local paper, and there was a private investigator consulted, and we came up short. And that's where it ended. And after I put in that effort, I had exhausted all of my resources. So that was it. I thought that she was no longer in that region, or worse, you know, she could no longer be around. I didn't know. And so, but that was, you know, I made my attempt, and the book was closed on that. So now let's flash forward to this past year, and I'm a guitar player professionally and make music, as a bunch of you guys are discovering through my channel. Thank you for that, by the way. And so I teach a select few guitar students, and so one of my guitar students happens to be a filmmaker by the name of Daniel Rohr, and we became friends. And so at the end of a guitar lesson, he asked me a very benign question about my time living in Japan, because he had just heard that I lived there, didn't realize that I had lived there as a kid, thought that I just played the koto and was a Japanophile and loved things Japanese. But he basically asked me, well, are you in touch with anyone there still? And I said, well, I have family friends there, and I have new friends who I know who are there, but I'm not in touch with anyone from back in the day when I was a kid, because I only really had one true friend, and I stopped hearing from her, and I wasn't able to find her when I looked for her. And his eyes lit up, and he said, tell me more. And I told him, another minute of info about her, and he said, I want to find Fukue. And I said, what do you mean? I looked for her, I couldn't find her, and he said, this is what I do. I find people. And I was like, all right, you got it, man. If you can figure out how to find her, I'm on board. So the next day he wrote an email to CBC, and a month or two later we filmed some interview stuff so that he could pitch to this story idea to CBC short docs. And then a few months after that, he officially made the pitch, and then they approved it, and 5 weeks after their approval, we were in Japan. So that's how it happened. I didn't make this movie happen. I just took the opportunity because there was sort of some budget and money behind it. I thought that that would be the only way that I would ever be able to find Fukue, since I had exhausted all of my options that I could execute on my own. So for anyone who thinks that I should be thanked for making this thing happen and everything, of course it was my resources used to find her, and we did a bunch of sleuthing, and I wanted to find her, but this was all the doing of Daniel Rohr and CBC. And so that's who you should be thanking, really. So that closes that part of our little chat. So next thing I think is important to talk about is, a lot of people have messages for Fukue, and I've been relaying them, and yes, we're totally in touch, and we've been sending a bunch of messages back and forth. And I was just, I told her about the overwhelming response, and I haven't heard back from her yet still on that. One thing that's very important to her is that she can have a normal life with no spotlight on her where she lives, and her identity is protected from the film. No one, but people have been asking if she has social media accounts or this, that. That's not what she's doing. She's not into that. And I am passing on your messages to her. Everything that, where you see her in the film, everything that she said, and all of the images of her in the film were all in the film with her consent. There was a bunch of media stuff that was offered to Fukue and I when we were in Japan. You might remember the press coverage scene in the documentary. That was for real, a surprise press conference with a whole bunch of all of the local and prefectorial news outlets, and they all wanted follow-ups because they did the story as I was looking for her, and when they found out that we had found her, then they wanted to do follow-up interviews with us, and I had a feeling that Fukue wouldn't want to, and I don't care. I mean, I care only about Fukue and her comfort, and the media coverage there or wherever, that is totally secondary or tertiary or whatever the term is for being less important. So I mentioned to Fukue that some people had requested this, and I told her that I have no interest in doing it, so she doesn't have to say yes on my behalf. It's totally about her comfort level. If she's comfortable and wants to do it, then I'll do those with her. And if not, then we'll forget it. And she said that she didn't want to. She was comfortable with her interviews and image and footage and photos being on media outside of the place that she lives, but she really didn't want to be drawn attention to where she is, so that she can have a comfortable and normal life with no one bothering her. So that is the answer to that question. yeah, because there was another negative comment where someone criticized me saying that I was using Fukue's story, putting it on blast for the world, and that she would be really upset with it and this and that. And I was bothered by that comment, to be honest, because I have been her feelings have been my top consideration this whole time. So anyway, that answers that. So let's wrap it up. This got a little long. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, a couple little bits of news. First of all, a bunch of people are asking still about the song at the end of the movie. It's coming out in a few weeks. It's all in the works. The sessions are booked to wrap it up, so that's happening. Second of all, thank you to all the new subscribers to my channel. That's so cool. Just because there's this influx of activity on the account, I finally uploaded the full playlist of my full last album. There's 4 music videos, 1 lyric video, and 7 other songs or something like that. I think my math is off here. Sorry about that. Anyway, there's a playlist called The Passage. That's the name of the album. And on my account, so you can check that if you would like, including the song Lost Friends, which I wrote for Fukue. The album came out in 2016, so this is recorded within the year or so before that. And the other thing is that everyone's been sharing their stories about friends that they lost touch with. And I really didn't realize that so many people had the same kind of story and had significant people that they haven't been able to be in contact with. So I would love to hear your stories. So why don't you share your stories with me in the comments if you feel like it. And I'll do my best to reply to everything. And anyway, if you think these videos are interesting or something and have other questions, please let me know and I'll make more. So anyway, thank you so much again for watching and for caring about this thing. It's totally overwhelming in an amazing way, and love you guys so much. Thank you so much.